Over the last couple of years, I've had the opportunity to interview some really fantastic authors. Many of them have come to be some of my favorite people in the world. Quite literally. They've become solid friends and their books have become some of my favorite all-time reads. This week, as we kick off February, I get to celebrate another milestone. I'm your host, Garrett K. Jones. Join me for the 150th milestone episode. Happy Saturday and welcome to my channel. If you're new, glad to have you, and if you're returning, glad to have you back. You can become a channel supporter through Patreon and the merch store down in the video description. I'll talk more about those options towards the end of the video. Of course, the fastest way, the easiest way, the freest way to support what I do here is by becoming a subscriber. So, click the subscribe button and smash that like button. This first video of the month is usually reserved for doing the top 10 book recommendations. That segment will be back next month, and I have a great list of books that will be thrown at you by a fantastic guest presenter. This week though, and because it's a milestone 150th episode, you don't get those all that often, I have a special interview that I have the privilege of getting to do. I'll get to that in a moment. But right now, I'd like to focus on last week's author meet and greet. Last week, the Hanford branch of the Kings County Library held an author meet and greet. Last week, I talked about this experience at length during the end of January Forming Fantasy livestream that I did on YouTube and Instagram. Myself and several other authors from around the San Joaquin Valley gathered together to promote our books and each other and have book sales. It was a great opportunity to connect and network with authors that I've heard of but haven't met, or authors that I've known for a while but haven't had a chance to meet in person, whether it's been for several months or several years. So here are just a few of the pictures that I took while we were there. Go ahead, take a look.
Before going any further with the video, be sure to subscribe and click the bell icon for notifications on new videos. You can select notifications for all videos, or you can select notifications based on your preferences. If you're watching on your phone, be sure to update those settings inside the app itself to get the most out of your viewing experience.
So a few months ago, I was garnering interest in authors that I wanted to interview for author awareness, and I was browsing through the cesspool that is Twitter, and I came across a post asking for book recommendations. I responded and suggested a book by Jonathan Marbury and one by British author Tim Lebbon, which happened to be a novel in the Firefly series. Yes, that's right, Browncoats Unite. Anywho, both Marbury and Lebbon responded, and I invited them to come onto the show for an interview. Now, while Mr. Marbury hasn't been available to schedule, Mr. Lebbon was, and I am super stoked to share that interview with you guys today. So, without any further ado, here we go.
All right, Tim, thank you for joining me. I know there's a bit of a time difference here, me in California, you in the UK. So tell me about what you've been working on. What do you write?
Okay, well, at the moment, I'm halfway through a new novel, which is sort of stalled in for various reasons. One reason is halfway through every novel, I feel that it's shit and I don't want to continue. But this one's not quite not quite the case there. It's one of those things I've left halfway and then suddenly had an epiphany and realized, oh, I know how to finish this now. So it's ready to be finished. But it's because I've been working on other stuff. I'm trying to get into screenwriting. So I've written a pilot based on one of my books, and also a feature script based on another book. Neither of which is with anyone other than my manager just yet, but both have potential readers out there waiting to read them. And I love screenwriting because it in some ways it feels quicker. In some ways, the actual production of a script for me is fairly quick, but the thought processes behind it is as long as writing a novel, really. So, the feature I've written in 3 weeks, but it's had 6 months of thought and planning and brainstorming behind it. And I've always got 2 or 3 short stories that I'm sort of due to write, and I'm thinking them through, and I'm hopefully working on some audible drama soon as well. So lots of planning on that. Unfortunately, none of this is stuff that's sort of announced yet, so I can't really say what it all is. But I do have a novel out next year as well, which I'm hoping I can be announced really soon because I'm just close to signing the contracts on that. So lots of different stuff, which is pretty normal for me. I tend to I hate working on just one thing at a time because if I get stuck on it, that's it. I'm stuck. I like having a few things on the go so I can turn around and work on something else for a day if the other project's feeling a bit slow or a bit stuck or a bit confused.
Yeah, that's completely understandable. And I'm the kind of person that I kind of get stuck on one project, and I'm
Right.
on that project for a while because I just kind of obsess over it and obsess over it and obsess over it. A lot of my viewers, when I do these interviews, they like to know how writers got their start because everyone's got their own story. We're in the art of telling stories. So, what's yours? How
Yeah.
did you get into writing?
Okay. I've been writing since I was about 10 or 11 years old. Probably before that I can't remember. What got me into writing? Well, reading first of all. My mother got me into reading hugely. I'd read a book a day when I was 8, 9, 10 years old. And then when I was about 11, she gave me The Rats by James Herbert, which wouldn't be considered a YA novel nowadays, without doubt. And that got me into adult fiction, or it got me past Hardy Boys fiction and stuff like that, more into Stephen King and James Herbert and Clive Barker. And the writing started pretty soon after I started reading horror, adult horror. So early teens, I was writing. I wrote all through my teens. I sort of copied the style of other writers for a long time, which is how a lot of writers get started. And then early 20s, I started writing short stories with a view to submitting for publication. And it built for the next 10 years. Every year got a little better. I wrote more, I submitted more, I got more accepted, and sold more stuff. And then early 30s, I went part-time in work because I was just making enough money to sort of support myself part-time. So I'd write at home Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday morning. Then Wednesday lunchtime, I'd put my shirt and tie on and go to work, which was awful. And then 3 years after that, I went full-time. And my boss is one of my best friends still. And I remember I just sort of opened his office door and looked in, and he looked up and instantly he said, "You're leaving, aren't you?" And he saw probably the joy in my face. I said, "Yes." So he said, "Please just give us 2 months." So I had the last 2 months in work when I was unbearable for everyone else, probably because I had a massive calendar on the wall and I was crossing off day by day. And I wrote through my lunchtimes in work and sometimes beyond, and just worked and worked and worked at it, and expanded my sort of circle of writing friends and knowledge and contacts. And for me, it was a real gradual building thing. Some writers write their first novel and get it accepted by a big publisher, and then it's game on. But for me, it was small press for years, and then edging into like leisure publishing, or leisure, as I believe you call them over there. So leisure publishing, and then bigger publishers both sides of the Atlantic. And most years feel a little bit better than the previous year. The last couple of years has been a bit of a slump for obvious reasons, but yeah.
Yes, obvious. Very. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, let's skim that one. Yeah.
So, talking about some of your inspirations there, you said that you got into, from what it sounds like, you got into some really classic, or at least new classic horror.
Yeah.
What draws you to that particular genre?
Yeah, I'm never sure about that. I'm asked why I read horror and why I write it, and um, my classic answer is I give an answer. It's a saying my grandmother and my mother used to have, and it's the way my mother put my hat on. Some people are drawn to particular genres or subgenres or areas, and it's difficult to analyze why. Virtually everything I've ever written has got a fantastical element of some sort.
Mhm.
I've written two novels that are thrillers, but they're really, really, really dark. You know, I don't analyze because I worry that if I get in too deep as to why I'm writing and reading this sort of stuff, it might change things. I do feel I'm fairly, I suppose, fairly sort of level-headed and in my normal life, you know. And I think because I write horror, it gets a lot of the stuff out onto the page that otherwise might fester.
Is it a bit cathartic then for you?
Yeah, it can be a lot of the time. Yeah, yeah, and I think more so since I became a father, which was now 22 years ago. But my writing changed overnight when I became a dad. And virtually all my stuff now it's either over or hidden away. It's family in peril. That's my real fear. You know, I'm not scared of vampires and zombies. I'm scared of something happening to my family, and that's my biggest fear, and that's what I tend to write about. Even though some of the time it's not right there front and center on the page. It's always there, you know, in the shadows.
Yeah, I mean that's fascinating because I've gotten into some of your books in the last few years, and I mean the writing is just absolutely superb. I'm not trying to, you know, blow smoke or anything like that. I it's you're one like I'm not the kind of person who gets into reading a lot of horror or dark fantasy or anything like that. That's not usually my cup of tea. Reading through some of the books that you've written has been really good, um and so that kind of, I guess that kind of carries me into the next section. You know, you've worked on some pretty popular IPs, whether it's
Mm.
the Aliens versus Predator franchise, Star Wars, uh, Kong Skull Island, doing the novelization for that one. How'd you get pulled into doing some of that work? Because that's like every, you know, fanboy's dream to do, is to work on
Yeah,
they like.
yeah, I do still have fanboy moments if I'm asked to do something. I guess the biggest one was I'm a massive Alien fan.
Hmm.
Aliens is my favorite film of all time. Uh,
Good film.
I saw it on the big screen a week ago Saturday with my wife for the first time since 1986, which ages me quite badly. And it was like watching it again. It was amazing. Such a good film. Now, I always veer from one to the other, trying to remember which was my first tie-in. I'm pretty sure it was a Hellboy novel for Chris Golden, who was editing a line of Hellboy novels at the time for Simon and Schuster.
Hmm.
Pretty sure that was my first tie-in. It was either that or the 30 Days of Night novelization. Chris got me to write a Hellboy novel, which was great fun. With I think with things like tie-in fiction, if you write one or two and you deliver on time and you deliver a product that's, you know, considered fairly decent, then the more you do, the more you're regarded as sort of a writer, somebody can go to, a publisher can go to if they're because these things are always got ridiculously short deadlines. I did actually write two novels in 2 months once, and that was two tie-in novels, one novelization and one original novel in 2 months, which was ridiculous. But I'll probably never do that again.
Hmm.
But so the first couple you do, you build a slight sort of name for yourself, and then people go to you more and more. And like the Alien stuff, it's all I've done probably 7 tie-in novels for Titan now. It's 4 Alien novels and a couple of novelizations. Oh, and Firefly, of course. So probably 7 or 8. And I love doing them because you're playing in somebody else's sandpit means there's a lot of the world already there for you.
Hmm.
I love world building, but sometimes it's a different process writing a Star Wars novel, for instance, than it is writing my own space fantasy novel because the world's already there. There's this preconceived understanding from readers that what they're reading, and they understand the world already when they go into it.
And there's also some expectations that you have to deal with as well, right? I mean, is
Oh yeah, totally.
as well as from the rights holders and all that.
Yeah, that's different for every property. The Star Wars project went far smoother than I anticipated when I got into it. I remember my agent phoning me. I've got a great agent in New York, Howard Morheim, and he
Hmm.
phoned me about something. And at the end of the conversation, he said, "Oh, and by the way, do you want to do Star Wars? I've just had a request." And I thought about it for like 3 seconds. Say, "Yes, I'll do a Star Wars novel." Fanboy. I'm not an absolute Star Wars obsessive, but I'm a fan of it. I enjoy it. And also mercenary head on. The money's great for a Star Wars novel, so there's always that side when I do this for a living, and that's always a consideration as well. But then I was really worried because I knew there's like hundreds of Star Wars novels. I thought, oh shit, if I'm writing a novel in the midst of that timeline, do I have to read like 30 Star Wars novels? But mine was the earliest novel in the whole timeline ever. I think that's still the case now. Dawn of the Jedi. Every 6 months, I'll email my editor at Star Wars Books and say, "Hey, I'm still here." But they got their own plans.
You mentioned the Firefly book, Generations. I just finished that a couple of weeks ago, as of the time of this recording, and I gotta say I've been listening to them on Audible. I do a lot of driving because of work, and so I was able to pick up all 5 of the books, and I listened to them in the supposed chronological order of everything.
Right.
And I really enjoyed the way there was a very claustrophobic feel to some of the elements in the story, and it was really cool to kind of see and dig into River Tam's past a little bit more and
Yeah,
expand that awareness.
yeah, it was good fun writing the novel. It was one of the hardest editing experiences I've had with my editor friends at Titan, because I think I wasn't quite as immersed in the Firefly sort of genre area sandpit as I thought I was. So a lot of the way, I think I hit the characters on the head quite well, and the language works quite well, and a lot of that is down to the input from my editors at Titan. But I've grown to really love Firefly again
Yeah, it's a
through.
great series.
It's fantastic. So much potential set up there for future movies, future series, and future other areas of storytelling. So who knows? It'd be nice to continue it at some point.
Yeah, well, one of the things I liked about it is as I was listening to it, one, Titan Books had a really good narrator for all 5 of those books.
Mm.
It's the same narrator throughout, and so like one of the things I thought was really great is his uh, vocal intonations when he's narrating for Malcolm Reynolds was just like spot on, superb. I'm like, it could have been Nathan Fillion, and I wouldn't have been able
Yeah,
to tell them
yeah,
apart.
yeah. There's a real
Uh,
talent there. A real talent
yeah,
to doing audiobooks.
but the thing I liked about it is that uh, without giving anything away, when the Firefly crew get to their destination, uh,
Mm.
there's definitely that derelict feeling that you get from Alien and from some of the other elements. And I, having listened to Out of the Shadows earlier in the year,
Mm.
which that's one of my favorite because I like the fact that they turned it into a full cast dramatization. Uh,
Yeah, it was amazing.
they just that atmosphere you can kind of, well, it's like, man, I know that Whedon made some references to Blue Sun and the Alliance being very similar to Weyland Yutani, but you can
Mm.
feel that vibe, especially in Generations. And I thought, oh, there couldn't have been a better person to write this particular book.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I think that came through because I'm a horror writer at heart. Like I said, I've done a couple of thrillers. They're really fucking dark books, and my fantasy, I've done several 5 or 6 sort of alternate world fantasy novels, but they're really, really, really dark. They're horror novels on the fantasy world. Firefly verse has got so much potential for darkness and spooky storytelling. And there's what always interested me about it was that there's no aliens. It's not Star Trek. It's Firefly. There's no aliens. There's no hint of aliens. And I think if I were to do another, I'd probably try and explore the idea that they find traces of something that could be alien, and that could be quite interesting in the future.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool. Or another run-in with Reavers that just goes horribly, horribly awry.
Yeah, I love the Reavers, man. Oh yeah,
Reavers are just they're terrifying. They're not
they're
zombies, but they're not human.
Yeah, they made them really
Or-
scary, didn't they? They did so well with them. I mean, in Serenity as well, the movie,
Oh yeah,
and how they're created and the whole mythology behind them yeah, it's genius. There's so much more potential in that universe, definitely.
oh absolutely. What has been one of the hardest parts or the biggest challenges that you have faced in the scope of being a writer and in your career?
So it's never easy getting a book contract, despite outside perception. I'm still, I've had like 45 novels published now. I still get really excited when my agent phones and says, yes, we've got an offer. That's still a great moment, because it means, well, I can eat for the next 6 months again. There's no salary at the end of the month. I know you teach, so you're paid monthly probably, like I was before. When I quit work to write, there was this shocking moment at the end of the following month when I wasn't paid anything. It was so shit. I've really done this. The money side is a constant, a constant pressure, not pressure, but a constant concern. I'm my own boss. I've got to make sure we're money wise, we're okay for the next few months, and I'm always thinking about what comes next. That gives me this sort of freedom as well to try and branch out. Like I say, I'm doing script writing now. I'm trying to get into some audio writing. That's all really rewarding creatively, and it's a necessity as well. I've been very lucky with screen stuff. I've had a couple of movies made and quite a few options, and that's kept me ticking over quite nicely. But it also means I get to play in different areas of creativity. It's all storytelling, so
yeah.
I love screenwriting as much as I write novel writing. I'll always be a novelist at heart, I think, and maybe that's why I'm really interested in TV, writing for TV, because TV nowadays is long form storytelling. It's more like a novel adaptation for screen, whereas movies sometimes feel more like a sort of novella or short story.
So last question, and this is the one I ask for all my interviewees.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
If you could give any advice to would-be authors out there, what would you tell them?
Don't give up your day job until you're pretty certain you can make it work. I've been quite lucky in that. Well, when I was looking to go full time and write full time, because I was a sort of a numbers guy before I was a words guy, I created a spreadsheet which perfectly showed 2 lines on a graph meeting, and I could say to my wife, "That's when I can quit work. We'll have 6 months' money, and I've got to give it a go." I love the writing lifestyle. Absolutely love what I do. It's the best job in the world, second best job in the world. I think I know a couple of rock stars, and I think they've probably got the best job in the world, but. Yeah, so don't give up the day job until you're sure. But mechanics-wise of writing, I just say read an awful lot outside your chosen genre that you're writing, and read outside your comfort zone sometimes. Take rejection positively. It's not easy all the time, but I still get loads of rejections. I write a new novel, my agent takes it out. It's not like we're getting 15 offers. I'm rejected all the time. All professional writers deal with rejection all the time. So I had a weekend at British Fantasy Convention, like I was saying just before we started the interview, hence the croaky voice, because I've been in a hotel talking and drinking for 2 days. And I had a couple of conversations with writers who, younger than me, who just starting out about imposter syndrome. And they were amazed. I said, "Oh God, I've got it all the time." And they thought, "Really?" Hell yeah, Don't. And I've always thought that if you're too comfortable and too confident in what you're writing, maybe you're not pushing yourself quite far enough. Keeping it fresh as a writer is also quite important. I try not to write the same book again and again and again. Some writers do. Some writers make a really good living writing a similar novel every time. I think I try and make mine fairly different, just to keep things fresh.
So, Tim, I really appreciate you coming on the show. This has been great.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
I've been just having this conversation. I've been geeking out the entire time. I've been keeping it contained as best as I can, but this has been awesome.
No, it's been good fun. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'll hope to have you again sometime.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anytime.
A big thank you to Tim Lebbon for being available to honor me and my channel by being willing to participate in this special interview. Now, if you want to check out his books, he's got his name on titles developed from a variety of popular IPs like Aliens, Firefly, Predator, Godzilla, Hellboy, and much more. He also has a vast collection of original titles that are fantastic reads. The link for Tim's website is in the video description, so check it out and buy his books and support this amazing author. Hey, thanks for watching. Please hit like and subscribe. If you'd like to support this channel, you can do so on Patreon through one of 3 affordable support plans. Patrons get access to blooper reels, behind-the-scenes videos, and so much more. You can also buy sweet merch from my store on Teespring, which you can then turn around and rep on Instagram and Twitter by tagging me at GKJ_publishing and using the hashtag 5kingdomsmerch. Or you can sign up for the free poster giveaway right over here. All links are down in the video description, and I will announce a winner when I hit 200 YouTube subscribers. I'll see you guys back here next week for the official February edition of Author Awareness, featuring an interview with indie fantasy author Matthew S. Romeo.
The vlog of the Five Kingdoms is filmed without the use of a live audience at Skyrocket Studios in Hanford, California. We can't do what we do without your help, so please make sure to subscribe by clicking the button that's above my head, and make sure to watch and share the videos over here to my left. Have a great week.